Let's check out the relics. Chainsaw. A worn but functional chainsaw with 245 painted on the side. Big enough to do some damage. Compact enough to fit the back seat of a pickup truck. Cricket bat. That's not at all, but... Oh, by the way, the battery lasts a lot longer when you're not paying attention. An English cricket bat. Tape is wrapped around the handle, and stinking blood has seeped into the wood. Spirit board. This is an old spirit board. Looks like it's been here a few decades at least. 5 letters are worn down. Howdy. Small coat. A hooded red child's coat lies discarded. It is wet to touch. The stink of damp hangs in the air. Baby carriage. An old hand-painted baby carriage, an antique of sorts. The faint whiff of tennis root lingers in the fabric within. Old sweater. A striped old sweater. Spattered old bloodstains are crusted with flakes of dead skin in little patches all over the garment. The smell of burning flesh hangs in the threadwork. Tricycle. A small child's tricycle. So minute that it seems more befitted of a toddler, or even some kind of doll. You talking about jigsaw? VHS tape. A unmarked old VHS tape. Cassette. I get the sense there may be consequences if I dared to play this tape. I'm just realizing all of these relics are referencing to old classic horror movies. I even referenced Freddy Krueger's shirt here. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, don't know. Ouija board, not sure what that's to. Baby carriage, don't know. Freddy Krueger sweater, jigsaw, the ring, alien, the egg of some kind of large creature, possibly a reptile. There seems to be a corrosive substance covering the shell. Pennywise. A small child's red balloon hovers eerily in an empty space. I can almost hear the sound of laughter. Pumpkin. Not quite sure. This is no fruit. Thick plastic and hollow. Seedless center. Indicate it's some kind of mask. I see a faded logo on the inner tip. Axe. An old, heavy firearms axe. Fireman's axe. Did I say firearms last time? The worn handle looks as if it's used by a man who was all work, no play. I think this might be Jason, but he's more of a machete guy. Flesh book. This is either Leatherface or, for some reason, Hocus Pocus. An old tome bound in human skin and torn flesh. The stink of necrosis lingers in its binds. Shotgun. A Remington double-barrel shotgun. It looks worn with extensive use. Still functional, but no ammo. The word boom has been hastily carved into the wood. Not sure what that one is either. Top hat. I think this one's the Babadook. A black top hat with long wired hairs caught in the under of its just under the brim. Oddly, it smells distinctively of paper and ink. Teacup. I think this Get Out, I believe. A small blue and white china teacup. The interior looks chipped, as if it has been worn by the teaspoon. And video camera. Or battery. Another strange camcorder. It looks just like mine. I'll need those batteries. I can't let this light go out. I've collected 70 batteries. Holy crap. If this is a reference to a horror movie, I don't know what it is. The only one I can think of is that very brief moment in War of the Worlds. And the locations. Abandoned mine. I see what looks like the opening to an old mine shaft. Rotten wheelbarrows and rusted tools litter the entrance. The old wooden panels moan and creak within the weight of time. I head inwards, seeking shelter. The air is close, and the temperature plummets. No obvious signs of life. I can't shake the feeling of presence lingering in the crooked walls. Will this close the game? Are you sure you want to preview the tape? The current game will end and progress would be lost. Tits. Water tower. A water tower stands above me as I move through the section of the forest. At first glance, this appears to be an ordinary sight, and then I spot the symbols, runic markings drawn in blood. My eyes move towards the peak of the tower. The cold, dead eyes of some poor soul stared down at me. Sanatorium. The towering, ivy-laden walls of some kind of neoclassical building lay before me. Stone statues of goddesses welcome me, giving salutation to the sky. As I step through wary iron gates, this place seems abandoned. It possibly served as some kind of infirmary or asylum. A discarded military vehicle stands by the entrance. A branch crushes its chassis. I see a light coming from inside the large structure, and the faint sound of voices from within. Rows of hedges and garden mazes cover the grounds. These shrubs are trimmed and kept. Someone still maintains their dignity. Malformed wooden sculptures sit below strange ruins. Blood curdles in the pools and fountains. My ears prick up. A rustle. Footsteps on the gravel. The clipping of shears. How about a laughing doll? You ever seen that before? Nuclear defense bunker. Beside the outpost sits the entrance of some kind of bunker. Sandbags, weapons, and bullet casings lay strewn throughout the opening. Besides the rancid, necrotic husks of former soldiers. Deeper within the emergency power brings dull light onto spent weapons, ammunition, and the signs of a desperate struggle. These troops fought to the last to protect their enclave, to keep someone or something out. The stink of death hangs here. The walls are closing in. Military outpost. I follow the track to some kind of outpost. Military trucks and equipment lay abandoned. The ghost of what looks like an extensive operation here. Generators still churn, delivering power to neglected tents and barracks. No sign of any soldiers, dead or alive. Lunar crash site. I recognize this site, though I fear I am slipping into madness. Is this a lunar landing module? It seems identical to craft I've only ever seen on TV screens and Hollywood movies. Yet here it lies, lit up by sparks and downed pylon among the sodden bracken of this dark place. Wow, there's so many words that the English language has so many nice words that we could use, but we just don't. We just stick with cap. No sign of any survivors. I notice the bodies of one of the crew. Their atmospheric spacesuit is worn but remarkably preserved. Decay has taken hold of this former explorer, entombed here in their exoskeleton. The distinct smell of rotten flesh catches my nostril in the wind. I shudder again. Have I fallen into a delusion? Either that, or it seems the twisting enigma of this landscape is conjuring horrors unconfined by the limits of the Earth's atmosphere. Car crash. Tire tracks veer off the road and lead me to a small truck smashed up against the splintering bark of an old tree. The mud has fresh scars. These wheels tore across the ground recently, and the truck lights still blink with life. No bodies in or outside the vehicle. There must be some survivors somewhere nearby. The sewer! Black bags pile up on either side of the opening to a sewer. The reek of fecal matter and decomposing trash mingles in the back of my throat. As I head inwards, this concoction grows stronger, bringing up dry retch from my gut. Rubble and litter scratches at my shins as I move through the tunnel. The screech of rodents grows deafening. The narrow passage leads to a cavernous opening. It yawns outwards. My breath echoes. Another stench joins the cocktail, the stench of death. A wooden cabin. The smell of wood smoke leads me to an opening in the trees and a rickety old shack. There is a well-stocked store of fleshy chopped wood below the house, and smoke billows gently from the rooftop chimney. I can see a rocking chair sitting ominously on the porch, and the stench of death creeps through the wood as I make my way to the door. Knock, knock. The grain silo. The corrugated metal frame of a huge silo springs out of the forest as if from nowhere. The original use for this structure is a long, distant memory. Within it, a child's teddy bear watches the dancing flames of a small campfire. This is repurposed, lived in. Whoever lit this fire, they must be close. Shipwreck Lake. The chemical scent of gasoline leads me to a sight which turns a reason on its head. An oil tanker, fractured open, its raging flames, contained within a small inland lake. Its hulking metal groans and screeches in its death. Vast quantities of oil pour from its shredded hull, making the water inhabitable for all that lives. Something fizzes in the air. I feel a presence. I feel its anger. Ancient ruins. I spot some kind of ruined temple-like structure ahead. Many of its lateral edges stand as if they did when people prayed here. The stones seem ancient, yet uncannily well preserved. Torches are lit outside the section most intact. Logic tells me they must have been lit recently. Another voice in my head assures me that they've been burning for a very long time. Treasures lie within, untouched by any opportunist in all these years. Cobwebs line the walls. I hear pitter-patter of tiny legs. Yeah, those legs are called spiders! A treehouse. A rickety old treehouse lurks over me, possibly a hunting shack. The ladder up is weak and rotten. I cannot scale it. I see no game in these woods. What do they hunt? People? Decrepit barn. I walk into the clearing to see a large wooden barn in dire need of maintenance. I shudder as I spot some kind of occult or religious symbols painted in deep red on the outer wall. I tread through the doorway. The ground squelches beneath me. Cold, thick blood fills my shoes. I feel a coagulate between my toes. Flies fill the stinking air, nipping at my skin and buzzing in my eardrums. A hulk of sliced flesh hangs from the ceiling, gently dangling from the carefully marked pentagram littered with skin and bone. Still no sign of whoever did this, but I see large boot prints marking the ground amid chunks of severed meat. It seems someone else came through here. A rural shack. Between the trees, I spot a flickering light of an old shack or trailer. Perhaps someone remains here. Hastily assembling contraptions and freshly dug pits are dotted around the entrance, a clear sign to ward off intruders. I don't mean to intrude. Waste dump. The familiar scent of trash leads me to some kind of disposal area. At its center, the rusting fuselage of an old plane, its carcass standing knowingly above the detritus. This waste seems lost in time and space. Discarded domestic bags lie among long-dead electrical appliances and ruptured stone. The broken pieces claw at my feet. Better not lose my footing. Am I wearing shoes? Have I not been wearing shoes this entire time? Plane crash. I came across a broken and shattered plane fuselage. Worn by the elements, jagged metal struts present a hazard at each breaking point. I see the structure is corroding, giving off the faint whiff of muted rust and engine fuel. No evidence of current survivors, but I also can't see the bodies of those who didn't make it. It looks like the wreckage has been here for months, if not years, but I can see lights flickering somewhere inside the hulking mass. Convenience store. The familiar sight of asphalt and concrete surrounds some kind of convenience store. At last, possibly some refuge. As I draw closer, the reeking hum of decaying meat evaporates my hopes of respite. I see corpses hanging bat-like from the ceiling. What sickness took the people responsible for this? There are limited stocks remaining here. Anything left unspoiled may have been raided or for supplies. Besides, the nauseating odor has eroded my appetite. This once pedestrian place is twisted with malice and gore. Something stirs in the dark. I cannot linger. Survivor bunker. The side of the hill holds an old bunker or bomb shelter which appears in modern design. Possible evidence of some ongoing military operation in these woods. As I approach the shelter entrance, I can almost hear the begging screams of those who tried to gain access. A lonely, bloody handprint marks the steel doors, and the bones of a long-dead attempted intruder sit longingly by the doorway. An axe is embedded in the door mechanism, sparks flying. Their desperate calls were never heard. This door is sealed. Campsite. I see tents and camping equipment littering this section of the forest. Clothing and sleeping bags are nowhere to be seen. Only torn and discarded plastic canvas. Somebody was here, but they have left, or been taken. Can feel a bitter chill creeping into my joints. The fire is extinguished. Nothing to keep me warm. Burning getaway. The cold breeze suddenly feels warmer as I step forward this section of the forest. Sulfur hangs thick in the air. I retch as the repugnant stench hits the back of my throat. Out of the earth springs some kind of flora or fungus. Their orifices ooze and fester. The earth chards around them. Has madness taken me? The heat stings my feet as I approach the large doorway-like structure. Its masonry and metal seems like a distant aberration, not of this earth. Beneath it lies lost souls, seemingly corrupted or infected by the growths that postulated outwards from the doorway. I can feel hatred here, pure hatred. I must not linger. This UXO, oh my, I remember you. The earth is scarred by the remnants of some kind of missile. It stands in isolation, its nose buried in the blemished soil. Is this evidence of some conflict? Some kind of test? Better tread carefully. Yeah, I didn't do that very well. A Scarecrow cornfield. I see before me a sprawling cornfield. The crops appear healthy, meaning someone still tends to this land. Perhaps they are close. Perhaps they know a way out. Scarecrows stand in solemn sentry at the edges of the field. My stomach churns. I could swear I'm being watched. Grave excavation. Bright spotlights illuminate the dig site. Tons of soil has been unearthed here. And at the base of this pit lies an empty grave and a discarded shovel. Who would move a body from its casket? And where are they now? I don't want to find out. Swamp settlement. The sound of insects and amphibians means water must be close. My cracked lips long to feel liquid pass between them. As I draw closer to the sound, I see a festering lake. This is no oasis. I retch as I get close to the stinking bog water. I see an old wooden structures ahead. Its absent residents have been living in filth and pestilence. Is this a place of worship or sacrifice? The smell of old blood and rotting gore clings to the panels. Dilapidated walkways over the lake lead to more outhouses. I almost lose my footing into the rancid water below. The stench of death grows as I move deeper. Anybody home? Animal den. This small rock formation is clearly home to some kind of large animal. Bones, guts, and viscera are sprawled around the entrance to the under cavity. The breeze is thick with a stink of rancid gore. Aldhem Church. The ringing bells echo through the trees. I follow the sound to an old church. Rusted swings and children's playthings now sit empty and hollow in the churchyard. Any childish songs of laughter have long departed. Bats surround the clock tower, screeching and weaving above me as I step inside. These halls are old and full of pain. The stones creak and shatter. It seems there has been a struggle within. The pews are tipped over or damaged. Who would cause such reckless destruction of a holy place? The only organ sits beautifully preserved. Even its keys are free from dust. I feel a whisper at my back. I am not alone. An old fisherman's shack sits above a rancid pond. It looks as if the water level was once higher here, before the changing landscape drained its lifeblood. Lilies and reeds eke out the existence of a stagnant mire. What do these words mean? The inhabitants of the shack have discarded a meal, and empty bottles sit neatly on the center table. Whoever was here, they were here recently. Disused power station. I step through broken fencing onto concrete. I see a series of 19th or 20th century red brick buildings looming over the car park. It seems this is a kind of power station, possibly burning coal and to provide power to this whole region. The furnaces burn no more. The offices lay empty. Discarded cars sit rusted in the lot. This place was abandoned in a hurry. Old cellar. An old cellar lies open on the hillside, perhaps providing some shelter from the elements of this wretched place. Inside are stores of bottles, possibly wine or spirits. All perishables have been exhausted. Nothing remains for me to nourish or hydrate myself. Fetid rats scurry beneath my feet, hissing and squeaking as they cower from the torchlight. I hope they're the worst I'll see down here. Stairs to nowhere. I see a concrete staircase standing lonely in the swaying wood. The steps climb without destination or purpose. Their end has come to naught. What lunacy is this? Radio tower. In the trees, a radio tower. Its reaching heights bring me visions of contact, rescue, escape. As I approach, it seems there is no power here. It is lost, discarded, hopeless. I can smell something putrid, something I've never smelled before. Battle trench. I see a long, wide trench systems cut into the earth. Barbed wire marks its lip. The stink of mud, feces, and something else rotten greets my descent. It can't be. This excavation looks identical to the frontline trenches of the First World War. Skeletal bodies and antique weaponry are littered through the tunnels. My feet are bogged in rancid mud. My head is spinning, lost in time. I can almost hear the anguish of war, desperate screams deafening by gunfire. Graveyard! I approach the iron gates of a graveyard, aching with history. Barbed spikes line the walls. Within lie tombstones marking dead from across the centuries. The epitaphs tell 1,000 stories. I see candles flickering softly in places. Someone came here to mark their respects. I tread forwards as imposing mausoleums yawn and creak around me. Something stirs within. I can feel them. They are calling to me. Strange door. A lone door stands upright amongst the trees. I hear a dreadful knock coming from within. It is beckoning, inviting, begging. Familiar whispers hang in the air as I approach, calling to me. The pit of my stomach lurches and howls. There are things at work here I cannot begin to explain. A red light seeps from the lower crack of the door. Can this disembodied ingress actually lead somewhere? Old farmhouse. Ravens claw as I approach an old wooden house tucked away in a woodland. Ivy strangles the beams of its frontage. An abandoned car sits in the driveway. No lights inside to guide my footing. The door is ajar. Stepping into the creaking hallway, I see clear signs of habitation. Dust has not settled in every corner. Dim lamps flicker with electricity. A warming flame sits in the fireplace. I want to feel safe, to feel reassured, to feel like I'm home. Footsteps, whispers, something moving beneath the floorboards. A sense of knowing and loathing. There's no shelter here. Farmhouse basement. Beneath the unhallowed halls of an old farmhouse is a large basement area. The air is close. The stink of mold and damp only slightly masking the smell of something much worse. I see some kind of cave formation leading out into the underdark, perhaps back to the forest. The domesticity of this place seems corrupted somehow. I find a deep and gaping well, reaching down into the depths of the earth. I see bodies. Whoever tread here last did not thrive the night. Lonely well. An old stone well stands at waist height as I move through the trees. Its worn masonry seems intact, yet I feel a sense of great loss as I approach. Do my ears deceive me? Or do I hear a faint sound of a whimpering child? Lassie fell down the well! Old vending machine. A vending machine stands flickering in the wood. I can hear the low hum of its internal cooler, but I see no obvious power source. Some kind of electrical disturbance crackles and fizzes in the air. The hairs on the back of my neck stand to attention. The machine looks operational. The elements have little effect on it. I see no evidence of markings or disturbance in the mud around the area. It wasn't dragged here. How did it reach the section of the forest? Regardless, I have no idea how long I'm going to be out here. Maybe some sugar couldn't hurt. And finally, the watchtower! A large wooden structure springs upwards above the treetops. I scale its stairs. They seem stable enough. The air chills as I rise. This place looks lived in. Papers and documents sit in something like an office. The wind bites at my skin. I cannot help but feel unwelcome here. Thank you everybody so much for watching, and I will see all of you beautiful faces in the next video. Toodle pip!